R.L. Stine. Hey, thank you so much for joining us on WTOP in DC.
Hi. Oh, my pleasure. This is my time of year. We're Halloween time here.
Absolutely. And me and everyone else watching this has you to thank for so many nightmares as kids reading those books.
Well, I
But
try. I try.
well, what do they say in Casablanca? I try, you succeed, or something like that. But anyway, so we're here talking about the Library of Congress is doing a really cool Halloween event. So you and I guess Mary Pope Osborne are also going to be here, and we're going to be celebrating 30 years of Goosebumps and Osborne's Magic Treehouse series, both celebrating anniversaries. It's going to be this Saturday. So what all is going to happen? Is it going to be like a Q&A, or how's it?
Well, it
What's the
beats
setup?
me. We'll see when I get there. I never know what's going to be going on. But yeah, it's been a big celebration year. Can you imagine 30 years of this stuff? It's hard to believe. Well, when we started Goosebumps, I said, let's try two or three. I wasn't real optimistic at the time. Now it's 30 years later. I've lost track of how many books.
Well, we love them so much. I can still remember all the imagery and the titles and the covers of the books and everything by heart. And we can get into that in a second. But whenever I have someone on, I love sort of hearing your origin story. I want to know how you got into this racket to begin with. I know you're born in Columbus, Ohio in 43, but what did you grow up reading any spooky stories, comic strips, that kind of thing? Like what got you into it?
I did. Well, I wasn't a horror guy to begin with. I've always been funny. I wrote 100 joke books for kids, and I did a funny it's sad. It wasn't even my idea to be scary. It was another editor who told me to go write a scary book. But no, when I was a kid, there were these great horror comics that I loved, Tales from the Crypt and
Oh
The
yeah.
Vault of Horror and The Witch's Cauldron. They were great, bloody, gruesome comics, and they all had funny twist endings. I think they were very influential on me because they were scary and funny at the same time.
Absolutely. And that would always become that's sort of your calling card. Because I mean, do you sort of agree that the two often go hand in hand? I feel like the
Oh,
the masters of horror, the Stephen Kings, even if you want to go into like the Alfred Hitchcocks, they always have a little bit of a dark humor in there too.
well, I think horror and humor are just very closely tied. I think it's the same visceral reaction. When you go up behind somebody and you go, boo, what's the first thing they do? The first thing they do is they gasp and then they laugh. It's very close. The reaction is very close together.
And also, what's the first thing we do to a newborn baby? Peekaboo. We're scaring people
Yeah,
right from the beginning.
right. Scare the kid to death. Right.
I love it. I think we all like being testing our fears, but knowing we're gonna, the book will end or the lights will come up
Right.
and we go back out into the sun.
Kids like Goosebumps because they know it's going to be scary. It's going to be a fun ride, and they all have happy endings. They're all happy endings. They demand that.
Absolutely. And I know before you even got to Goosebumps, didn't you do a little work in TV like Nickelodeon, Eureka's Castle? A lot of people might not remember that was a previous life for you.
That was my whole TV career.
That was it, just Eureka's Castle?
4 years, I was head writer of Eureka's Castle, which was sort of like Sesame Street, except we didn't teach them anything.
Right.
The kids who watched Eureka's Castle, I think, lost IQ points.
You are now dumber from having watched
Yeah,
it.
I'm proud of that.
Thanks for dumbing us down before you scared us.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Awesome. And then I guess what started before even Goosebumps, there was another series of scary. It was Fear Street, right? Like so.
Yeah, I did a series for teenagers called Fear Street for older kids, and we were killing off teenagers every month. People love that. They love it when you kill teenagers.
Well, so was everybody in the 80s. That was a bad time to be a teenager in slasher era.
Very bad, very bad. And so, yeah, I did Fear Street first, and then my editor said, let's try a scary book series for 7 to 11-year-olds. No one has ever done it before. And I said, no way. I didn't want to do, that's the kind of businessman I am.
Smart.
I didn't want to do Goosebumps. They had to talk me into it.
Well, aren't you glad you did?
It worked out.
It worked out. It worked out okay.
You know, it's a living.
Worked out okay. It's more than a living. Man, seriously. Tell me about gosh, that first one. I guess it was Welcome to Dead House, right? If I remember correctly, the family moves into the old creepy house, the old haunted house. Tell me about putting that first one together.
Everyone in town comes up to the kid and says, I used to live in your house. I used to live in your, they're all zombies. But you know, I always thought Welcome to Dead House, I always thought it was too scary for the series.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't have that combination of humor and horror. It's just scary. And I always thought that book was maybe the scariest book, the very first one.
Well, yeah, you teed it up and scared. I remember specifically being a kid reading that thing and being scared. So, but it hooked us. So it couldn't have been too scary. I mean, I remember, gosh, I'm trying to remember. Stay out of the basement and say cheese and die. And Night of the Living Dummy. Is that a Night of the Living Dummy behind you right there? Or you said that's mini me?
It's a dummy of me. I have a dummy of Slappy.
Yeah,
Slappy here. You know, Slappy is my most favorite character and my least favorite character.
Why is that? Why is he both?
Well, he's so popular. He's my most favorite. He's, you know, this Halloween, thousands of kids will go out as Slappy the Dummy, which is a thrill for me. That's amazing. But he's my least favorite character because I've written 15 books about a dummy that comes to life. It's harder and harder, you know? How do you come up with more plots?
That's true. How far can you stretch?
Yeah.
Howdy Doody can only do so much.
That's right. That's right.
But I'm trying to even remember. We won't go through all of them, but I remember what's the one at the camp? Welcome to Camp Nightmare. I always got a kick out of that one. I probably read that before I even seen any of the Friday the 13th really? Camp Crystal Lake stuff. So, but how fun is it? Right?
That was based on my son's camp.
Oh, really?
I hated outdoors. I hated camp. I went on Visitors Day. I didn't want to get out of the car. So I wrote Welcome to Camp Nightmare.
Inspired by this.
We're still going. This is the 30th anniversary. We have this very special hardcover illustrated Goosebumps to celebrate. It's called Slappy Beware. That's the brand new book.
Oh, awesome. And what's the general premise of Slappy Beware?
Well, it's the origin of Slappy.
Ah, okay.
But I think it's maybe the 5th origin I've written.
Right.
Like 5, I don't know. I'm not, there's one where Slappy was born in a puppet factory in Cincinnati, but that can't be true, right?
Right.
No, that can't be true.
Can't be true.
I'll probably be talking about that at the Library of Congress on Saturday.
Awesome. Everyone turn out to see that. Do you have a favorite one that you've written that maybe, I mean, there might be other ones that might be more famous or whatever, popular, but what would be like your personal favorite that you think might be a little underrated?
I have one that no one ever mentions to me called Brain Juice.
Brain Juice? Brain Juice.
It's about this purple liquid that turns these kids really smart. And they drink it and they get smarter and smarter and smarter, and it ruins their lives. They're kicked out of school for being too smart. Their friends, they lose all their friends. They're way too smart. And then they're abducted by aliens and taken to another planet because they're so smart. And on the way to the other planet, they get stupider and stupider and stupider. I love that book, but no one ever mentions Brain Juice to me ever.
Well, now you just did. So now hopefully people watching and listening to this will go check out Brain Juice, and maybe we'll all get smarter and smarter and then dumber and dumber.
Yeah.
All right. So if that's your personal favorite, then what would you say the flip side? What's the one that everyone comes up to, and what is the popular favorite that everyone?
I think it's The Haunted Mask.
Oh, of course.
That's definitely my favorite. That's my best Halloween story, I think, about Carly Beth, the girl who wants to be scary at Halloween, and she puts on this mask and it sticks to her face and it won't come off, and it turns her evil. I think that's my best Halloween story.
Well, and I believe that, I'm pretty sure that was the first one that they adapted for that TV series too, right?
It was the first show we ever shot.
And how, gosh, and that kicked off a run of, man, they adapted a bunch of them. I can't remember how many total.
4 years.
4 years.
4 years, and we had Saturday morning, and then we did a bunch of primetime hour-long shows. That was fun. Hey, I like the 90s.
And, are you kidding me? I loved it. That's when I was growing up. But
we love the 90s.
In my brain,
they're doing a new Goosebumps TV series.
Oh,
I think
when is
yeah,
it?
I think they started to film this month.
Oh,
I'm not
awesome.
quite in the loop, but I think they're filming it now.
Now, does that tie into the recent Jack Black movies that they made, or is it a completely
No,
different?
no, it's totally different.
Okay, cool.
Jack Black and I are like twins, right?
I totally. Are you? Do
People
you guys?
confuse us.
Do you
People
keep?
confuse us all the time.
I know. I was watching School of Rock the other day, and I thought that was you up there playing AC/DC.
Yeah, I wish. I wish.
I don't know how good of a horror writer he is, but Jack Black, if you hear this, you and R.L. Stine, you could be twins. Well, what's the before we run? Plug away, tease the new show they're doing. What do you know? Is it based on a certain book or two, or
They just started filming. I'm really kind of out of it. I think they're going to do Goosebumps stories from the books, but they're all going to tie together somehow. And they got a really great bunch of young actors who are going to be on every week. So it's going to be a little different from the old 90s shows.
awesome? Well, we encourage everyone to check that out. And if you got younger kids or whatever, maybe they missed it, go back and read some of all of the R.L. Stine, the Goosebumps and everything else. It's really good stuff. At this point, you're probably one of the top selling authors ever, at least children's books too, or actually probably overall.
I'm second in children's. I'm second.
Who's
overall.
first?
J.K. Rowling.
Well, oh, of course.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to be second. Can you imagine? It's unbelievable.
Number 2 to Harry Potter is not bad.
No, I'm thrilled. No one's more amazed than I am. It's unbelievable.
Well, absolutely. I mean, seriously, if you think of this genre, especially for kids, getting into reading, you think of you. Well, yeah, and Stephen King, of course. But were you a big Stephen King fan, or have you met him? And what do you make of the comparisons?
I met him once, and I met him once, and he accused me of using up every amusement park plot, and he accused me of not leaving any amusement plots for anybody else.
Oh, you stole all the good ideas.
No, we had a good talk, but I've only met him once.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's the highest of compliments. If he's saying, man, you had too many good ideas, leave some for me. But that's great. Well, we really appreciate your time. You've been more than generous. Any final plug on the Library of Congress event on Saturday?
I hope to see everybody there. This should be a lot of fun.
It really will. Come out with R.L. Stine, celebrate 30 years of Goosebumps. I believe it's free too. I think you just might have to, register for a timed entry pass or something ahead of time, but I'm pretty sure it's free. So you guys don't want to miss it at the Library of Congress. R.L. Stine, thank you so much.
Oh, great. I enjoyed talking with you. Thanks so much.